All right, I'd like to call the meeting to an order. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. Long time no see, everybody. We have two new members here, so I thought we would have a quick introduction, and that would be Sarah. How are you doing, Sarah? Thanks for joining us and for volunteering for this adventure.
Sure.
What brings you to us?
I am Sarah Lamott. I work for Verizon. I have about 28 years experience in designing networks and understanding broadband and all of the different type of data communication technologies. I've spoken at conferences and have been involved in many types of designs like this. I come from a reference with Kevin. Kevin was actually one of my customers in the long run, so we've had a long working relationship years past. So.
Great. Look forward to working with you. And Mr. Oliver.
Thank you very much. So I come to you just because of my interest in my background in serving in communications. I have a communications degree. I've been in technology field for over 15 years. I was formerly the Chief Technology Officer for the town of Acushnet, as well as the Acushnet Public Schools. I'm currently the Director of Technology for the Bourne Public Schools. I served on the Cable Advisory Committee in Acushnet, helped negotiate a contract for them. And I work intricately with the Open Cape, which is a internet provider on Cape in the South Coast, Massachusetts. Done a lot of work with networks as well. So I'm really interested in seeing what this committee and what we can do here in Dartmouth to provide more options.
Between the two of you, that's some serious firepower. It's pretty awesome. Saul, I'm here just because I'm a loudmouth, and I used to gripe on Dartmouth helping Dartmouth all the time about setting up a municipal broadband. Mr. Estes?
My name's Kevin Estes. I've been in various forms of telecommunications and data communications and network design for my whole career, and I'm a customer of Verizon.
I'm Aaron. I was asked about possibly considering being on this committee because I do video production for a living and rely on high-speed internet to run my business, and I would like to see a competitor to Comcast in town because I hate Comcast.
I didn't want to say that, but thank you.
Fair enough.
So with the introductions over, I guess we can start with our entry point meeting. And
So I think we can
how's everyone doing over there? Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you great, yeah.
Great. So we have ourselves an agreement as to setting up a feasibility study, and I'm sure some of our members here have some questions. Who would like to go first? Anyone?
I think we should let entry point maybe.
Maybe give their own little brief.
Yeah,
All
because
right,
I think they
agree.
came up with some bullet points as far as what they wanted to go over. So I think we let them kind of lead now and go. If you guys are ready, if you want to wait for the rest of your team, we can go on.
No, we can get started. Just quickly on, so I've got the agenda that was sent out to us earlier. And there's the entry point portion here. How long do you want to, I wanted to just kind of go through the introduction of our team, the scope of the work, just high level, some project timelines and meeting cadence. So there's only 4 things that are on our list, but are we talking 10, 15 minutes? What do you think? 20 minutes, 30?
Yeah,
Give
20
me an
to 30
idea of how
minutes
long
I
you
think
want.
is fine.
Okay, perfect. I will be quick then. Let me see if, I don't know if is it okay if I share my screen? I assume
Yep.
you'll be able to see that.
Yep.
Let me see, I want to share that.
Looks like a pretty big screen. Just looking at it.
Right, yeah.
Did that pull up for you? Can you see everybody's picture here?
Yep. Here we go.
Yep.
Okay, so just quickly, a couple of us, I'll have them introduce ourselves, but I just want to give you an idea. So we're excited to be working with you. We've done quite a few feasibility studies and work with several towns, cities around you. Jeff has primarily led a lot of those, and so he can talk to that a little further if people have questions. I'm going to be the project lead and coordinator for this project, so I will attend most meetings. Nick is going to be a co-project coordinator. for if I can't make it to some. My primary background and involvement as far as the final report is financial modeling. That's what my background is in history. I'll let Nick, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself, and Eric, since you're on here.
Hey, good evening, everybody. As he said, my name's Nick. I'll be your point of contact for market analysis and community engagement. I've got a background at Spectrum and Comcast, so I know the lay of the land pretty well, and I'd appreciate it if nobody held that against me.
Spectrum's all right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Banyai. Nice to meet you all. I'll be a project support on this project, so happy to work with you all, and nice to meet you all.
And then, so I've got up here Tyler Riblett for operational support. So Tyler will get involved when we are looking more at existing assets within the community, as well as, at some point we'll want to set up a call with your public works department and kind of get, he'll have a lot of questions regarding the terrain, as we're analyzing aerial versus underground and things like that. So you'll see Tyler later. And then the leadership team, just so everyone's, so Jeff Christensen is the president and CEO of Entry Point, but he's very active and will be involved. You'll see him fairly regularly throughout the process. Bruce Patterson is the head of operations. That's who Nick and Tyler and I report to. You will also see him. They'll get involved. We like to do a lot of kind of quick educational training meetings as we're going through the process. And Jeff and Bruce will conduct a lot of those as we go through. So I just wanted to give you kind of an introduction to the team. As far as the scope of the project, I think everybody, I don't know if everybody has, this is the full statement of work that was signed. I will also email these documents to everybody on the committee in case they don't have everything.
We have them all.
Yeah, we have them
We
all. shared
shared them with everyone.
Okay. So I just pulled out the scope of work relative to that, and then I wanted to talk quickly, kind of an overview of the scope of work, and just talk through this. So as far as we will plan on scheduling regular meetings with the committee. Typically, we like to be those to be bi-weekly throughout the project. We used to do weekly meetings, and number one, we found out that takes a lot of the time from all the committee members, and a lot of times we're not getting everybody to show up. And also we found by doing bi-weekly, in the off week, we can schedule more targeted meetings with specific individuals who we may need to gather information from, et cetera. We will follow a fairly, let's see where it is here. I'm trying to pull up my timeline. And this is not set in stone, obviously. As we start working with the committee, we'll work on building this out. But typically, we schedule a timeline over about a 4-month process, so 16 weeks. In the scope of work for this, I think we said 5 months to give us a little leeway, number one. And also, as you get out here, we start looking at Christmas, Thanksgiving. So we anticipate ahead of time that we probably won't be meeting regularly through the holiday times. So, but this is so basically for every meeting, we will send prior to the meeting an agenda that will specifically state everything that we're going to try to cover in that meeting. We'll track things that we specifically need from the town of Dartmouth, as well as specific things that Entry Point needs to provide. We'll take notes in that meeting, and then we'll follow up. So for example, after the first meeting, the committee members will all get a copy of this, which will have tasks that were assigned to Dartmouth, tasks that were assigned to Entry Point, as well as notes from the meeting and when the next meeting is, et cetera. So we'll provide that information as we go through it. I've already filled in here the team information. So I have Nick's and and Eric's contact information. I've listed the primary contacts. I took this off your list. So I have Sal as the chairperson, Aaron as the secretary, and then listed the committee members. If that changes, if that's not correct, we can change that later. What we really want here are the primary contacts as far as when we have requests for information, who do we go through? So, but again, I've started to fill that out. We don't need to address that in this meeting. I'm not necessarily considering this a formal kickoff meeting. I'm kind of more of an introductory meeting. And when we have our formal first kickoff meeting, there'll be some specific things we want to cover, but we'll also go through this and solidify who's involved in each area. But so that's the timeline associated with this. I'm going quickly. If somebody has questions or something, please stop me. But on these, I just wanted to quickly touch. So education and strategic considerations. Relative to that, as I mentioned before, we like to do a 10 to 15 minute training session, training and education session where we talk about specific topics that are of interest. In our first full meeting, we will present a list of topics and the committee can kind of go through that and say, these are the things we'd like to hear about, and we can kind of settle in on some of those. We will also, as a part of the strategic considerations, we like to do a survey. Rather than just talking through it with the group, we like to do actually a survey that we send out to all members of the committee and any other stakeholders that you may feel are important to be involved, and get kind of their independent feedback of what's important to them. So we'll talk about that as in the first meeting as well. As far as community engagement, we typically stand up a website specific to the project that can either be independent or linked to the city, or it can definitely be linked, but it can be a part of the city. But in most cases, it's an independent website that could be Dartmouth Fiber or something like that, where the community members can access and get information. We'll create a survey. We'll review all of the questions with the committee, but that survey can be accessed through the website, and we'd like to get as much participation as possible so we get credible data out of that. As we talked about the on-site meetings, I know one of the on-site meetings we've talked about is to be a kind of a community meeting where we actually are there to kind of do an overview to the community of what this committee is doing, as well as take questions, et cetera. So we'll want to get that scheduled probably in the next meeting or two, so we can go forward with that. Next phase is data gathering. We're going to gather a lot of data on the local market, what the total internet spend is, incumbent options, sample invoices, snapshot speed tests, as well as look at FCC maps and kind of get an idea of what areas are served versus underserved. We're going to want to look at municipal and anchor institutes, city buildings, large employers, hospital, to kind of get an idea what there is in the area for that. As I mentioned, we'll want to do a meeting with Public Works Department, most likely, or at least individuals that have a good knowledge, so we can assess, does the city currently own any assets and what they are, as well as, like I said, some of the geographical challenges. A lot of the work we've done on the East Coast, it's a lot of hard rock, and so aerial makes more sense. But we'll want to be able to, as we analyze options as far as what can be built, we want to look at that. Also confirm premise counts, et cetera. That's all part of that data gathering. From there, we'll go to business model reviews. We want to talk about everything that the town is interested in. So various options, dark fiber, single option ISP, open access ISP. We'll get a feel, hopefully, in the early discussions as to if there's areas that the town's more interested in others. PON versus Ethernet networks. Historically, everybody's built PON, but a lot, I won't say most, but a lot of people are moving now to Ethernet because there's a little more flexibility in some areas, but there's cost considerations, ownership options, public versus public-private partnerships. Kind of we're looking there at, how does the city get a seat at the table? Meaning, how do you help make some of the decisions as opposed to others just making those decisions for you, and get your feedback listened to? Obviously, fully publicly owned municipal, you have the most control. Fully private, you have the least control, but there's a lot of things in between. Financial options, what grants are available, city funding options. If the city were to try to do municipal, we'll go through all of that, as well as legal considerations, and then risk analysis for all of the options. Once we come up with, based on your feedback, what we think kind of the recommended options may be, we'll do a full financial analysis to include both, the cost to build the backbone or the infrastructure, as well as drop costs, as well as the cost to maintain a network, middle mile options, what's available, basically how do you get it from the city outside? What would the costs per subscribers eventually potentially be based on the different options? And then we'll do a full financial plan, pro forma, balance sheet, et cetera, for 5 to 10 years, based on whatever model options we're looking at. From there, we'll create a draft plan, give the committee plenty of time to look through that, make recommendations, suggestions, et cetera. And then the final presentation to the committee, the town council, whatever that group ends up being, that will be a second on-site. So that, as well as the community engagement, will be the 2 times that we plan on being fully on-site. So that was it. Let me, I can figure out how to stop sharing. I'm not even sure how to do that. So let me close a couple of these. Once I started, I kind of. All right, that's not getting me there. Anyone know how to stop sharing my
At
screen?
the top where it says share, wherever you went to share.
I don't have
You have like a
I
green,
don't have that option
do you have a
anymore.
green bar at the top of your screen, like you're right in the middle?
There you go.
There
Oh,
we
we're
go.
done. I think we stopped it for you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So that was very quick, but I want to be conscientious of your time. Questions, thoughts, comments?
Looking forward to working with you guys.
Yeah, pretty
All
much.
right, you as well.
So I think, yeah, if you could get us what your timetable is as far as normally the committee has been open on Tuesdays at this time, 5:30. So if we
Okay.
could try to keep to that schedule, I think that would be the best. It seems like other people have commitments on other days and times. So, I mean, doesn't mean that we can't sneak another meeting, I think, in at times, especially where there will be a Zoom component. So if somebody from the committee can't make it in person, they could always join, like Entry Point does now on Zoom.
And what is you say you meet, do you typically meet every Tuesday, or what's your current
No,
cadence?
right now, well, before we were just kind of getting going, and then it was the whole RFP process. So this is our first meeting since May, but we were
Okay.
meeting about once a month on Tuesdays. So I
Okay.
mean, if we have to do twice a month, I think some of us should be able to do it. And like I said, I think just even having the Zoom component, that you guys are going to be on Zoom, so we'll have the option for somebody else one of the committee members to join on Zoom. That should be not a problem.
That sounds great. Yeah, I think what I'll do then is I'll recommend every other Tuesday at this time,
Yeah.
so that we keep it consistent. And then if we determine that there's, one of the, that that a lot of members are going to be missing certain meetings, we'll make sure we focus on things that we feel the entire committee needs to be involved with, and the ones that we know there will be more people. So who is the main contact that I should be reaching out to?
So I've been the staff person, and then Saul is the committee person, so Peter. I've
Okay.
been the main support for the committee as far as a staff individual, so probably be easier to get in touch with me. Saul is
Okay.
pretty good too.
So what I'll do, Peter, is reach out to you in the next couple days with the projected schedule and kind of the timing. We're going to be very flexible, so we'll really, we'll set up the time for the first or the next meeting, and after that, we'll set up bi-weekly with the understanding that we can be very flexible.
So I will tell you that August 17th, 2 weeks from today, is our town meeting, so we will not be available that night.
Okay,
Just-
perfect. I'll keep that in mind.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
Anybody got anything? No, pretty good so far. I mean, like Peter said, you can either reach out to me or himself. I mean, stuff that I can't take care of, I always fall back on him. He's the heavy lifter out of all of us, to be honest with you. So,
All right.
definitely
Sounds
look
great.
forward
We
to
will
doing
be in touch
something.
with.
I have a quick question. What would you guys say the largest town in terms of square mileage is that you've worked with to date?
Jeff, I noticed Jeff's here. Jeff, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Square mileage, largest. Well, we've worked with counties in rural Idaho. They're still a client. Valley County, populations under 25,000, and it'd probably be 10 times the geography of yours.
Okay. I'm just curious, because in Massachusetts terms, Dartmouth's one of the biggest towns geographically speaking, so just trying to get a sense of.
Yeah, it's definitely a variable. It's an important variable. We've worked with both Sonoma County and Marin County. Sonoma County covers a huge amount of territory in California.
Okay.
So it'll definitely be a factor, but we're cognizant of it, and we'll try and bring solutions to the table that work given that reality.
How about, Jeff, how about in the Massachusetts, Connecticut, Northeast region? What's any cities that we've worked with that cover large?
Biggest territory, I mean, most of them have been urban or suburban. So, New Bedford's been a client, but a lot less density. I don't know how the mileage compares with New Bedford, but Brockton, New Bedford, Quincy, Springfield, those are all bigger cities with a lot more density, and the makeup's different. So I would say Dartmouth. I mean, Westport's honestly probably the closest thing to Dartmouth, and I know Dartmouth's quite a bit bigger than Westport, but Westport's probably the most similar, with some areas of density, but a lot of semi-rural.
What's pretty big.
Do you guys work with Westport today?
Yeah. Yep. We're working with Westport to try and move forward. We're working on finding the financing solution for them so they can go forward.
Good. Anything else?
Okay.
That seems like everybody's pretty solid.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're excited to work with you. And as we go through the process, please, feel free. It's going to be very fluid. So feel free to let us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and what you need to see that we haven't brought up.
Great. Thank you very much for your
Sounds
time.
good.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So,
All right, that sounded pretty good. This is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be fun. But, so, done with that, you brought to our attention the One Touch Ready bill?
Yep.
Peter?
So it's a bill that's in front of the state legislation, that talks about, my understanding is to, try to help municipalities and other organizations that want to put out fiber on the poles. I guess there's been a lot of, I don't want to say resistance, but resistance from like the electrical companies, the telephone companies, the people that own the poles.
Right.
That they're not looking at it as a priority because I guess when you put your cable on the pole, usually you have to go to the people that own the poles, and they have to then do an engineering study, but they kind of take their time doing it. They don't like necessarily feel the need to push it along. And my understanding of the bill is what it would allow a municipality to do, or even a private, other competitor to do, is go to the company that the phone pole provider already uses. So like if they use company A to do this study, like we could go to company A directly and say, we want you to do this study for us. Go do the study. We'll pay for it to see what needs to be done to put our cables on the poles within the town. So you fund it, and then they take that report and hand it to the utility company that owns the poles. And so this way it kind of speeds up the process, because now you're the municipality, you're the client of that, that business, not really the utility. So they're trying to pass a law to allow this to happen in Massachusetts. I guess currently it's not allowed in Massachusetts. I kind of gave you the 2-page, I think, breakdown of it. So I was attending a meeting where this group was in front of them asking for any kind of committees to look at the look at the language of the bill and see if they want to try to send letters of support to the state and, you know, the House and the Senate to try to push the bill along.
So in other words, looking for an official letter from the broadband committee to our local elected officials?
You do it to the local, but then also the committee chair of where this is like what committee, I forgot what committee it's in front of. I think we had some sample letters, but I think I printed out.
Yeah, I saw the letters,
So it's like Joint Committee on Telecommunications, Utilities and Energy is the House one. I don't think I printed out the Senate one, but, and it's not a decision we have to make today. I think, I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention and maybe you can look at it and we can talk about it at the next meeting to see if it's something that the committee would like to try to, you know, sponsor. We might even be able to get the people that are trying to push this bill to come on by Zoom and give you a short presentation if that's something you want to hear more.
I think that's, the more help, like you've heard me discuss it with the mass broadband, how we need to work collectively to push in Boston to help us here locally to get these projects off the ground, and that's definitely key. One of the things that I would think that would work very well for us, because again, we're always working up against a big entity who has some serious play in Boston.
I guess this came up like it was Western Mass. There was a community out in Western Mass that was trying to do their own thing, and they said that was like their stumbling block. It was like a year and a half for the utility company to finally do the study and get it all approved before they could get on the polls, and that was like one of the longest stumbling blocks for them, was that they couldn't do this. And I guess this law has been passed in other, you know, states.
Yeah, all throughout New England, when I read that, I saw that.
And so that's why they're looking to do something similar here to try to.
How does that differ, though, from what Entry Point's going to do? Because it, you know, when they do feasibility studies on the polls, you know, that's a, would they, usually they have a client that it would be Entry Point would be the one that is the client of the utility pole owner. How does that, how would that work differently?
So my understanding is the utility company does their own study. So like even if Entry Point went there and said, here's the study we did on your polls, like here, I think it's mostly Eversource that owns the polls within Dartmouth.
Yeah.
So the Entry Point could go to Eversource and say, oh, we did this study on your polls. And my understanding right now, Eversource says, oh, no, we do our own study. We have a company that we use to do study. So the problem is like Eversource isn't in the rush to get our study done because they have their company working on other stuff. And so the hope is us as a municipality could go to whoever they use and say, hey, we want to pay you to do this study more and get it done in Dartmouth quicker than what it's on Eversource's timeline.
It would be interesting to understand how they've worked with these, because I think that you're gonna find that that's not gonna solve necessarily the problem. But it you know, open mind to it, but I'd like their opinion of how that works, because you know, with the best intentions, the government thinks that they're going to fix private corporations, and they usually tend to get in the way.
So are you looking for Entry Point to kind of give us a thing on it?
I just want to make sure that we're not, you know, tripping over each other in that and supporting one aspect, that we're not tying the hands of another.
Yeah, that'd be a quick email to them, yeah.
And they may love it, and that would be great, or they might be like, oh, great.
Yes.
This is going to be a fantastic way to do things.
Right. Yeah.
Anybody else? No? No. Good. All right, well, that's that one. Next is the report on the Massachusetts Broadband Coalition meetings, which I believe Peter's been the one that's been sitting on them because their timing stinks for me. They have it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and
On a Thursday.
never make any of the meetings. When they were doing them later at night, I would sit in on them, but they do them at 4 o'clock and it's next to impossible.
So I sent you a link to their website. I mean, they have some good, like I said, this is where I heard of this. They have some other stuff. So it'd be great if somebody from the committee, you know, would decide to sit on it if you could. They usually meet, I think they try to meet the last Thursday now of the month at 4 o'clock. Like I said, I'm gonna continue to try to meet, you know, to go to it. It's just, I can't always make that commitment to be there. But if somebody from the committee wants to be an official representative of Dartmouth, that'd be great.
Are the meetings in Boston?
They're all on Zoom.
Just Zoom?
Yep,
Okay.
just Zoom. So, and again, their website has all the videos. They record every single Zoom meeting that they have, so if you can't make one, you could always watch it after the fact. They usually supply all, anyone can go to the website now. I think like I said, I sent you guys all the link to the website, all the materials there at any given point. We don't actually have to attend. It's just, if the committee wants regular updates from them, then it'd be great for somebody to be an official appointee to that, group, so this way they could try to follow along a little bit better than I can. I'll be honest.
Anyone interested in taking that on,
potentially
or
make
is
that
that
happen.
difficulty?
I
Huh?
could potentially make that happen, because I'm self-employed, so I don't have a shoot scheduled, and Thursday I don't have my kids, so that's definitely within the realm of possibility. I could do that.
I would greatly appreciate it, at least if we put an effort into
No, I think it sounds
sitting in on a
important to me, too.
couple, just to see if, what comes of it, because again, the few times that I've sat in on them, first couple of times it was kind of like, it was a slog to get through, only because they were just starting to get everything formed. But in talking to Peter, it sounds like they've kind of they set an agenda, they discuss pertinent things. The first few meetings, it was just rambling and rambling and rambling. I just sat there and listened and zoomed out, but they are up to some good stuff on there. And it would be nice if we could have somebody at least listen in and see if there's anything that we can take out of it and use for ourselves. And at the same time, there's also a networking component to it as well, because some communities are out in front of us, some communities are behind us, and we can learn from the mistakes of others what to avoid going forward. So if you're up for that, brother, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, Thursdays at 4.
Yeah,
Like I said,
so-
unless I have a shoot going
Well,
on.
yeah, I'll reach out to Bob Espindola from Fairhaven, Select Board member. He's the one that's kind of spearheading this, so I'll email him your contact information, and so he can just add you to the list of, and like I said, most of the time it's the fourth Thursday of the month at 4.
Okay.
And then, yeah, you can report
What's
back.
the
when-
official name of that committee?
It's, whatever. I put.
Massachusetts Broadband Coalition.
Yeah.
Broadband
Yeah.
Coalition.
There's been no driving legal force behind it. It's just for people together that called themselves that, so.
Yeah.
This is no charge or anything for it, but like I said, they do bring up these topics, like this one poll. There was a couple other topics that they brought up in the past. If you have time to go through their website, like I said, there's a bunch of, useful links on there and information that you can go through at your own leisure that
I
you don't
know
have.
they've had some speakers come in and talk about different topics from funding sources and regulation and all that other stuff. So there's definitely, they're starting to get in the right direction.
And they
I don't
just-
think it'll be a waste of time for us to put a little effort into
In
it.
the last meeting, they just got, the coalition that's down on the Cape to not, I think there's another, Cape coalition that's
Cape
going.
Cod Commission.
Yeah,
is-
I think they're starting to loop them in a little bit. So hopefully, it kind of just combine efforts of everyone just talking and finding out these speed bumps everywhere.
Right, well, the one thing I suggested to him when I did actually sit in on the meetings a couple of times is if, again, back to the legislation, if we could group our power together and make one unified voice through the coalition to politicians in Boston, I think it would be advantageous for all of us. And it took seed, but I didn't get to follow up on it, but there was a few people that were kind of like, yeah, that's a good idea. So, again, I think it's important that we become part of that, just for a little while, just to see what happens. So thank you very much.
No problem. Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah.
All right, so next up is the new cable license update. That's Peter's realm as well. He was nice enough to sit on that fun thing.
Yeah, that was a nice year of my life, negotiating the
Never
cable
get
contract.
back.
Yep, it's all set. The select board signed it at their September 11th meeting. So it's a 10-year contract dated back to September 6th of this year. So it'll be till 2033. Most of the language in it is just legalese, like there's not much you can negotiate with cable, no cable rates. The big thing for us that would probably include us is, there's discussion of the iNet that the town has now, where we have, I think it's like 15 buildings or something that are connected by an iNet, that in years past, it was in the cable contract, and it was a free service. But now with the new FCC rules, that actually now turns into a revenue source for them. So we had to have a side agreement on what we would pay for the iNet going forward, and I don't know how we did it. I still don't know how we did it. I'm glad I got a signed contract, but I think we're paying like $8,000 a year for the next 10 years, very little inflation. It maxes out at like $8,500 or $8,600 in 10 years to have fiber connections between all of these municipal buildings throughout town.
Did they agree to continue to maintain it as well?
Maintain all.
So
all
for
at
pole
the-
strikes and?
Yep, so that's, I don't know, like, when I first started talking to the town's attorney on this, he says, yeah, a lot of these agreements are like $30,000-$40,000 in other communities. I don't know how.
There's no, I haven't seen the agreement, my apologies. There's nothing that prohibits the town from doing what we're doing with.
So we can't use it for any kind of commercial endeavor. We can only use it for in-house movement. So like,
There's not a non-compete
Nope.
or anything.
no,
so
the cable contract itself is a whole, has a competition clause in it that allows any vendor to come in and that's.
Usually that's where they get you.
Yeah,
It's
no,
the non-compete.
the only little scary language in there is that it does say that if they ever feel like the fiber itself is gone its useful life, they could terminate it. So there is that language in there, but I don't know if fiber optics that really have reached a useful term, like, and like, from my understanding, the fibers for our iNet are bundled with their like fiber bundles down the path, that if they're replacing, 3 miles of fiber here, they're not gonna say, oh, these 6 lines at Dartmouth, we're not gonna put a 200 pair here, we're gonna put a 197 pair and take Dartmouth out. They're just gonna
Right.
replace the 200 pair fiber. Like, they're not using any, like, all their equipment, there's nothing lighting the fiber. It's strictly dark fiber to them, like on the streets. So we're doing everything to light it. Like, we're responsible for all the mechanics running the stuff.
All the endpoint equipment
Yeah.
for the fiber, that's us.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not like, it's amazing how we got it. I don't know. I think somebody made a calculation
It was your charm,
problem.
Peter, it was your charm.
So,
Who's responsible for managing that circuit and the equipment that lights it up?
so it's split between the town and the school.
Okay,
The town and the school run,
so we don't contract that out to anybody else?
it is,
It is, we use a company called LCN,
Okay,
and they manage the endpoint equipment for us, We both have our own Comcast connections. I have a fiber connection here at Town Hall that also services DPW and the library, Southworth Library, and both libraries, actually. And the school department has their own fiber line going, I believe it's the high school, I think it goes into the high school. So, and then we go from there we do share some resources between the town and the school, commonality, the financial system here at Town Hall, Bush Street can reach it for certain things. So we do have some management of the equipment and how we get to the different buildings. There were 16 buildings that we're connected to with the iNet. A lot of it was because when it was initially constructed, it just happened to go by a municipal building to get to a school. So for instance, DeMello, we went by the Counts on Aging to get to DeMello, so we picked up Counts on Aging. Down the other end, Cushman, we had to get to Cushman, so we went by Southworth. So we were able to pick up municipal buildings along the way during the initial build of the whole system, so. when the new high school got built, that was an addition, you know, that Comcast was like, yeah, we're good with that, you know, because that was kind of like on an island, the new high school. There was nothing going out that way.
Right.
So, so we've made some modifications to the fiber, along the way since we've had it, and it works great.
I was just curious.
All right. So that's the update on the license for the Comcast agreement. And now we have approval of minutes.
So I think,
A while since I've done this, so help.
yeah, so I think the three of you were the only three members at the time, so
Yep.
Sarah and Chris probably should abstain from this, so you can just, if,
Is it present?
Yeah, you
think
were
you were.
actually.
they were back in May,
Yeah, it was when you came in, you just come back from your injury.
so.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Remember that?
I'll, make a motion to file.
Seconded?
Approve, yeah.
All right, great.
And then all in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain.
Same.
So now, as far as the next meeting is concerned, we gotta wait to hear back from Entry Point? Or we're gonna reach out to them, figure it out? How are we gonna handle this?
Yeah, I think that's, I'll wait to get their schedule and I'll share it with everyone and, you know, hopefully, like I said, they'll have Zoom components because Entry Point is going to attend by Zoom. So if some member can't make it in person, we can, you know, I'll offer you the Zoom link also, just let me know you need a Zoom link. But I didn't realize it was gonna be that heavy of a schedule, like bi-monthly, but
Yeah, I
we will.
didn't realize it was gonna be that much too, but it is what it is, we have to get it
And
done.
hopefully we can buckle it down and just get it through the next couple months and,
Yeah. Does Tuesday work for everybody?
Yeah, Tuesdays are good.
Yes.
Yeah, because Tuesday's the one that works best for me. All right, so Tuesdays at 5:30 will be the kind of what we'll try to lock in with them? All right, okay.
I would assume if I had to guess, if they're looking to really push it, then it would probably be the first one would be the 23rd, if, you know, or the 24th, what is it, that? Because,
24th.
yeah,
Because then it's
24th.
Halloween.
right. So,
All right, so I think that's it. Everybody good?
motion.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in one in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Pleasure to meet everybody.